Hi, Becca.
Hello,
Um,
I'm on.
this is a conversation between us as musicians who have played together in Jesus College Chapel. We did a lovely concert last year of Georgian music, and it's just to talk about music during the period of COVID. And I know that you've actually had many experiences during this period, including giving birth to a daughter.
I
How's that
have.
going?
I have. I mean, in terms of the music that I've been listening to during lockdown, a lot of nursery rhymes. A
Yeah.
lot, whatever music the baby bouncer plays, as providing the batteries haven't run out, I think. But yes, so I gave birth to my first child, Madeline, on the 8th of April. And it was a very long labour, and I'm told by the midwife, or I know for a fact, that I sang my way through most of it. Um, there was a lot of low operatic notes during some of those contractions, so I think Kingston Hospital didn't quite know what had hit them. But it's better than screaming, I suppose.
Fantastic. So do you think Madeline has heard songs throughout her the gestation and
Oh, definitely. I mean, I was doing a project while I was pregnant with Madeline. So my last performance was on the 24th of February, and that was singing the role of Nedda in a new English adaptation of Cavalleria Rusticana nei Pagliacci that the opera company, the Opera Makers, which I set up, produced a little research and development showing of. And that, yes, 24th of February, so that was just under a month before she was, just over a month before she was born, sorry. So she's certainly got a good earful of Verismo opera, that's for sure. And also, I mean, I've been learning a lot of Wagner recently. I'm learning the role of Sieglinde. So she's had quite the experience of loud music.
yes.
It's funny though, because I have sung with her on my lap and she loves it. She's absolutely fine until any of the notes go above the stave. And as soon as I try and hit a G, her little body just goes. It's
Well,
quite funny.
you know, I mean, you're a singer, a vocalist. I'm an instrumentalist, and I tend to stick to, you know, as a cellist, I listen to string music and orchestral music and so on. When I had my little daughter, when she was listening to me on the cello, she would just bawl for the first few years. I mean, I would think, oh, here I am trying to play this beautiful tune. The moment it started playing, she'd go, wah! Because, you know, I think she heard the sound of the cello as a kind of, you know, wail. So I'm afraid she never got used to that.
Because I think of the cello as this beautiful, melodious, low resonant instrument. Whereas
Wow.
being a high soprano, I can sort of see why this little creature with tiny little ears is there going, oh no. So it's quite funny. So what have you been rehearsing during lockdown?
Well, I just began with my piano trio playing the three Brahms trios. Unfortunately, we had to stop rehearsing because of social distancing. And I'm afraid I've been very remiss about actually practicing for the last couple of months because I must say this has not affected me particularly well, this lockdown business. And I've been listening on the other hand to quite a lot. And I found, you know, huge new resources. I don't know if you listen to music on YouTube. You can basically get anything you want.
Yeah, it's quite incredible. And also, I think what's been really wonderful about lockdown in some ways, especially for someone in the opera industry, is there is so much being streamed by the opera houses all over the world. There is so much choice.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really wonderful way of those opera houses opening their doors to new people, because these are exceptionally high quality productions with phenomenal singers. The ticket prices are usually exceptionally expensive, and you can dive in and out of any opera it seems that you want at the moment online. And I know there's a lot of orchestral concerts as well,
Yeah.
being streamed, which is I think it's really fantastic.
Yes, great. Have you heard any of those multiple Zoom concerts and sing and so on?
I've heard bits of them. I do. The problem is I tend to tune into the ones that are humorous rather than the ones that are good.
Right.
So there was an absolutely wonderful one of an amateur choir trying to do Vivaldi's Gloria, and it was possibly the worst thing that I have ever heard. But quite funny.
Yes, well, I heard the Eton College Choir doing something really utterly beautiful, actually.
Mm.
So they had all the different singers together on this Zoom gallery, and the conductor. I mean, the sound was fantastic. I think it's on YouTube. So I mean, there is stuff coming out. Though I mean, the idea that you have to sort of do your own thing in your own room and then everybody gets put together. I think one of the problems with Zoom is that whenever I'm on it, and I've been teaching, of course, all term on Zoom or Teams, similar, is that it reminds you that you're not in physical contact with people you want to be with. I mean, I'd love to be talking to you in your room right now or in my room rather than having to do it over this screen. And it's been terrible for my eyes because, in fact, I really should be wearing my glasses. I can't see anything. I got floaters, so that's not great. But do you think music has helped you to sort of get through this period?
Yes, I think music is always a wonderful way of letting out emotions, particularly as a songster, a singer, because lyrics can be so powerful and so meaningful. And my degree at Jesus was English literature, so obviously poetry is something that I have a connection with. And I think, strangely, a lot of what I've reached out to musically during this time has been the stuff that I grew up with as a child, the music that my mum loved. It's not classical, all of it, or most of it. There's a lot of Judy Collins and a lot of Simon and Garfunkel and the Beatles. And I think that's because that reminds me of the people that I'm not with. You know, it reminds me of my childhood. It reminds me of my mum. It reminds me of my family. I also have been listening and watching a lot of these operas that are streamed from around the world, because that's a way of keeping connected to what's going on in the industry as well for me. Music, in terms of things that strains of music that keep coming into my head, things that I feel really connect or tie up this period for me. I mean, I keep hearing and coming back to the Barber Adagio, the Adagio for strings, and I think it's probably because that piece of music was so intertwined with the other earth-shattering event of my lifetime, which was 9/11. Right. Because obviously it was a big piece of music that was played at the memorial for 9/11. And I think when these huge history-changing periods come round, often the pieces of music come round and round again. They sort of come into your head, because they have that sort of wealth of history, that built-up story behind them. So I think that's very, very powerful. And in terms of practicing, I've been singing Lady Macbeth's aria from from Macbeth, so completely different. I've been being a crazy woman who wants her husband to murder King Duncan, which is a fantastic piece of music, but
dramatic.
Bit dramatic.
Do you think that music is going to change as a result of what's been happening over the last few months? Do you think that maybe people are going to hear less live music? Are they going to be more interested in doing things online? What about careers?
I think the arts industry will have to change because of finances, because of social distancing. I mean, the Royal Opera House have already started saying that they're going to focus on doing some smaller things. So song cycles, stage song cycles, things they can do with one or two people, rather than always going for the full orchestra, the full ballet. because that's what they can afford to do, and then sell a third of the tickets and have the audience social distance. So I think there's going to be a lot of questions around how things are done economically. I already know theatres such as Apple Cart, which is a small theatre in East London, who are looking to work with theatre companies to film and create live streamable versions of their productions, for, you know, the minimal cost that they can do it for, so that smaller opera companies can start to, and theatre companies in fact, can start to live stream their productions. And I think that it will force especially opera companies to be more imaginative about how they think about space and how they think about staging. You know, if you're live streaming, maybe you don't want to be doing that on the stage. You know, you want to be doing it in a venue. And I think people will get clever about the tech. I mean, one of the things you said about was it Eton College, you said?
Yeah.
I mean, all of the ones that are good of those kind of things, they're done with a click track. And you can create some phenomenally beautiful music. Yeah. And I think it may encourage opera companies and orchestras to think about ways of using recorded music more cleverly to create opera in new spaces. Yeah. So for example, you can't create an opera, a full-blown opera in a warehouse space, because you can't fit the orchestra in. Right. But if you can hone that technology, that audio technology, to make something that sounds really like an orchestra, if you see what I mean, you can bring orchestras into spaces where they don't exist.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there are all kinds of clever technological innovations that are going to emerge from the necessity of having to do things at a distance. But I do wonder whether it will just remind everyone how wonderful it is, for example, to hear, you know, a piano trio in a large private room, or in Jesus Chapel.
Because I think you're definitely right.
Yeah.
I think that there is nothing that can quite capture the all-encompassing essence of hearing live acoustic instruments coming together in an ensemble in a resonant space. It's such a different experience from listening to a recording.
So hopefully there are some pros and cons. There will be, you know, advances in online music, but there will also be a recognition of the value of, you know, of doing it face to face, and people actually seeing and hearing singers and players doing it on the stage. I mean, I think much the same actually with teaching, and we can do it online, but there is something about the reaction to the person you're teaching or being taught by that somehow reinforces the teaching process. And, you know, I suspect that'll be the case. I mean, as I said, I've discovered all kinds of new music. I'm entranced by this American Chinese pianist, Yu Jia Wang. Have you come across her at all?
No, I haven't.
Talent. All over YouTube. And it makes me think that as regards careers, no one will be able to get away with just being able to play on stage or in a performance. Everybody is going to have to put their stuff online in future if they're going to make any kind of name for themselves. I hope you're going to be doing some of that. Have you done it?
Well, we are. So the company I set up, we started blogging. We started a blog about different live streamed operas from around the world, so that we can give people an introduction to the operas that they can now access online. Right. So we're releasing a few of those every week. We've released our trailer for our research and development project. We're looking in the next 12 months to potentially do the show that we were scheduled to do as part of the Grindbourne Opera Festival this year, which has now been cancelled, obviously, along with everything else. We're looking to potentially premiere that as a live stream. Great. So create it for early 2021 as something that's live streamed. very nimble and much more naturalistic, and then create the staged version for the festival. But we're still in conversation about that. We're not sure quite what we're going to do, but we definitely like to look at doing some live stream masterclasses and events for emerging artists, because I think one of the things that is most difficult for the arts at the moment is how many people have lost their jobs. And there's no specific date that they can see that their work will return. And it's, people think about it and they think, oh, you know, it's actors, it's singers, it's instrumentalists, and it's very easy to forget the number of people who are involved in putting on a production, even a small production: lighting designers, sound designers, stage managers, theatre designers, ushers, box office staff. I mean, the arts industry employs huge numbers of people, most of them freelance, so most of them not benefiting from the furlough scheme fully. And I think it's going to really change how freelance musicians feel about their rights and their security. I think that's going to be a big turning point in the minds of a lot of freelance musicians. I would not be surprised if a lot of people start more to look for more stable employment, either through colleges or through teaching work, or it's tricky. It's a difficult time. I mean, I was always going to be on maternity leave anyway, so in many ways it hasn't affected me, but apart from the opera company having to cancel their production in August.
But being a musician, I mean, it's a precarious career at the best of times, isn't it? I mean, you know, your next gig.
You've got to, I mean, anyone who said to me, I want to go into this industry, and obviously having just had a daughter and being creative myself and thinking, gosh, is she going to turn around to me age 18 and say, I want to be an actress, I want to be an opera singer, and what do I say? And I think it's such a double-edged sword, because part of me wants to go, no, don't do it, whatever you do, don't do this. But the other half, if you are passionate about it, if you want it more than anything, and you've got the bug, then you have to try, because you never know.
Yeah.
And I think more than ever nowadays, there is space to make your own opportunities. And I think this is one of the things that will come out of the COVID-19 pandemic, is that if you are nimble, if you are flexible, if you can do things that are small and don't require very much budget, if you can get something online, if you can make a statement by being the opera singer who sung from out of their window, or the opera singer who went to the doorstep of care homes and produced an amazing concert, or you know, there are chances for people to become something iconic if they're small and nimble and flexible. And I think that the world is going that way. You know, I think there's places to make your own opportunities more than there potentially ever has been before.
Well, that's great. So a positive note. As I said, I can't wait to get back to making chamber music with my friends, and with you, I hope, in Jesus College Chapel at some stage in the next year. But I'm glad that there are some positive thoughts to come out of this about music in the time of COVID. Very nice to chat about it.